All right, guys, please have your 8-3 notes downloaded. These are called special right triangles. Just a quick reminder, you can pause, rewind at any time, especially if I ask you to try a problem yourself. Make sure you do pause it before you see the answer. So our Pythagorean triples that we learned from before, those are helpful. The Pythagorean theorem is also helpful. But in something like number 1, where we don't have two side lengths, we only have one side length, the triple nor the Pythagorean theorem will help us here. What is nice, though, is that we have these degree measures. And there are special things about 45, 45, 90 triangles that we need to know. So if you have a 45, 45, 90 triangle, what do you know about it? Well, first of all, it's isosceles, right? So these two are going to be the same length. Let's call it A. And if you are curious why this is going to work, I'm going to side note here. If we have two side lengths A, right, let's call this C, just for now. And we use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out what C would be. You have a squared plus a squared equals c squared. So 2a squared equals c squared. And if we're solving for c, we'll square root. So we'll have c is equal to the square root of 2a squared, which means that c is a because the square root of a squared is a, root 2. Now, do you have to remember how to do that? No. You don't even have to write that down. But just know that this hypotenuse in a 45, 45, 90 triangle would be a root 2. All right, so that's something you're going to have to memorize. And I'll show you now how we're going to do some of these problems. Before you start any of these problems, I would like you to quickly write in, okay, across from the 45, this is A. Across from the 45, this is A. And across from the 90, that's A root 2. Okay, I want you to write that in. Now you can start looking at the numbers. So if this is A, then we could solve for x really easily because x is a root 2. So x must be 8 root 2 in this example. All right. Let's skip over to number 2. We're going to do the same exact thing. Remember, I want you to write, this is also 45, right? That's the remaining angle. I would like you to write across from the 45 is A. Across from the 45 is A. And across from 90 is a root 2. Okay, so write that before you even start. Now, we're still going to have to solve for A so that we can find x. It looks like right here is where we have some numbers, so I'm just going to write it off to the side. If we have that A root 2 is equal to 3 root 2, solve for A, I'm going to divide by root 2, divide by root 2, so then I have A is equal to 3. So I can use that then to fill in these lengths, and that's going to help me find x because x is A, so therefore x must be 3. All right, let's go to number 4. Same thing. Now, these don't have any measurements. Do we know it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle? We do. The reason is because these are congruent, that means it's isosceles, meaning these have to be the same. And if we already know that this is 90, what's remaining in a triangle? This must be 45, this must be 45. So we do know this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So again, we're going to fill in. Across from the 90 is a root 2. Across from the 45 is a. And across from the 45 is a. Okay, I'll just get rid of that. So we have to solve for a. I'm just going to write it over here. We have some numbers there. So a root 2 is equal to 18. Let's divide by root 2. Divide by root 2. A is equal to, and remember I need to rationalize that denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides by root 2. So I have 18 root 2 over 2. Oops. And that simplifies to 9 root 2. So I found that A is actually equal to 9 root 2. And that will now help me find x because x is equal to A. So x is equal to 9 root 2. All right. One example I'd like you to draw in looks like this. Just to show you one more. So again, we're going to fill in. This is A, this is A, and this is A root 2. So if I'm solving for A, well, it's already solved for me. So if I need to find, let's call this X. I should have done that already. Okay, if I need to find X, the hypotenuse, I'm going to plug that in here. So X is equal to, so A is 3 root 2, but I'm still multiplying it by root 2, right? A is 3 root 2, and I have my root 2 here. So X is going to be equal to root 2 times root 2 is 2, 3 times 2. So X is equal to 6. I'd like you to try 3, 5, and 6 on your own. The answers are there. Go ahead and pause. Make sure you can get those. All right. Number 7. The perimeter of a square is 16. Find the length of the diagonal. Okay, some things about quadrilaterals that we know. Well, first of all, the perimeter of a square is 16. So that means each of these are 4 because the square has same side lengths. We also know, okay, we have to find the length of the diagonal. We also know that this right here is a right angle in a square. We also know square is a rhombus, so the angles are bisected. And if these are all right angles and they're bisected, that means that this right here is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. All right, once we see 45, 45, 90, I want you filling in. This is A, this is A, this is A root 2. Now we can start looking at the numbers. And if this is A, that means X must be 4 root 2. That's the length of the diagonal. All right. There's another special triangle called a 30, 60, 90 triangle. A 30, 60, 90 triangle has 3 side lengths, the smallest of which is B, the next smallest is B root 3, and the largest is 2B. Now, where do they go? Well, the largest obviously has to go on the hypotenuse. The smallest, remember, the smallest side is across from the smallest angle, so the smallest has to be B, right across from the 30. And B root 3 goes across from the 60. So make sure you write that down. That's something you need to have memorized. 30B across from the 60, B root 3, across from the 90 is 2B. So let's try a couple examples here. And again, before you even start anything, you're just going to quickly fill in what's B root 3. So across from the 30 is B, across from the 60 is B root 3, and across from the 90 is 2B. So once you have that filled in, you can start using your numbers here. So if B is 1/2, I'm just going to plug that in here. X is equal to 2 times 1/2. So X is equal to 1. So that's our answer for that X value. And I'm going to use this B to plug in for Y. Y is equal to 1/2 root 3. I'm okay if you write it like that. You're more likely going to see it written like this. So I'd prefer that you write it like this. These two are the same thing, just written a different way. I'd prefer that you write it like this. That's how you're going to see it. Will I take off points if you write it like this? Probably not. But I'd like you to write it like the way I highlighted. Let's do number 2. So right across from the 60 is B root 3. This has to be 30 degrees, so across from the 30 is B, and across from 90 is 2B. So, if I have that this is B right here, I'm going to plug that in. Y is equal to 16. And plug that in here. X must be equal to 8 root 3. And there you go. Let's skip to number 5. So, this right here, so across from the 60 is B root 3, across from the 90 is 2B, and across from the 30 is B. Okay, so now we have a little solving to do. If 12 is equal to B root 3 and I need to solve for B, I'm going to divide by root 3. So I have B is equal to 12 over root 3, but I need to rationalize. So I've got 12 root 3 over 3, and then quickly simplify, b is equal to 4 root 3. So if I have that's what b is, I'm going to plug it in for x and y. So y is going to be 2 times b, so 2 times 4 root 3, which is 8 root 3, that's y. And I'm going to plug it in here. That's easy. X then is just 4 root 3. All right. Go ahead and finish 3, 4, and 6. Notice how in number 3, y I wrote, rather than putting 5.5, I left as a fraction so that it looks a little bit nicer. Go ahead and do 3, 4, and 6. Pause it, check your answers. Let's look at number 7. An equilateral triangle has an altitude length of 36 feet. Determine the length of the side of the triangle. All right, something we know about the equilateral triangle, it has 60-degree outside angle measures, right? Or, I'm sorry, not outside. Well, each angle measure is 60 degrees. But if this is 60, this one's divided right here. Oops. So if this right here is 60, this is 90, this little part must be 30. What do you know? It becomes a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Across from the 30 is b, across from the 60 is b root 3, and across from the 90 is 2b. So we're trying to figure out one of the side lengths, right? So one of the side lengths would be right here. So we're trying to figure out what 2b is. So I'm going to solve for b first. It says b root 3 is equal to 36. So I'm going to divide by root 3, divide by root 3, and b is equal to, got to rationalize, so 36 root 3 over 3, which is equal to 12 root 3. So if that's what b is, then the side length is 2b. So my side length is 2 times 12 root 3, which is 24 root 3. There you go. I'd like you to pause, try number 8, and your answers are there. Try number 9 and try number 10, and try your best, and then I'm going to go through it. Go ahead and pause. All right, so I'm going to go through this a little bit. First of all, the first thing we need to do, before you even start, this is 6. All right, pause again. Pause again and do 4 root 6. All right, and number 10. So if these are, this is some kind of trapezoid, so this right here is also 20. So we have that this whole side length is 35. All right. So, oh, you know what? You needed this information. That those are parallel to make that assumption, but go ahead for it. We're going to fill in because we need to find these legs here. This is 30, and again, because these are congruent, we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So let's fill in our A's and B's. Across from the 30 would be B. Across from the 60 is B root 3, but we don't need to know that. And across from the 90 is 2B. And over here, across from the 45 is B, and across from the 90 is 2B. So if we have that this is B, that means that this must be 2B, this must be 10. And if we have that, oh, wow, I really messed that one up. This one's A, because it's 45, 45, 90, and this is an A root 2. Good thing I caught that. So that means that this right here needs to be 10 root 2. So when I add up to find my perimeter, I'm going to add 20 plus 35, and then the two sides I found, 10 and 10 root 2. So my perimeter ends up being 65 plus 10 root 2. All right, good luck. Work on your homework, and have a good weekend.